We got a book review coming right up for the book, The Hot Seat, What I Learned Leading a Great American Company by Jeff Immelt. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on my channel. I hope you guys enjoy. We're doing the book review for The Hot Seat, What I Learned Leading a Great American Company by Jeff Immelt. So let's get started. About the book. So this book was published in February of 2021. The author is Jeff Immelt. He is the former GE CEO. He was CEO for, I believe, roughly 17 years. There's 227 pages. The price is $14.99 for Kindle, and this is the price right now that I see on Amazon. $14.99 for a Kindle, $15.69 for a hardcover, and $18 for a paperback. There's also an audio option as well. And the general theme here is about leadership. Jeff Immelt talks about his experience leading up to being the CEO of GE and all of the major decisions and challenging times and the triumphant times. All of his major experiences that he talks about, and he weaves in leadership principles in each of these experiences. So it's really good to have like an inside view of how executive level people think, and it's a very frank assessment. Jeff is very honest here, very honest about mistakes made, very honest about his thinking when it comes to building out maybe a new part of the company, hiring or firing someone. It is a honest assessment, and it's interesting to have insight into the thinking of a former CEO of such a large company like GE, where you usually would never have that kind of transparency. So you're like a fly on the wall to a certain extent. The one quote, I will put a quote down that I think best reflects this, what this book is all about. Leadership is an intense journey into yourself. If you can go to bed feeling beaten up and rise the next morning ready to keep listening and learning, then I believe you can lead. I like to quote Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. The trick is to stay open to new ideas even when your ears are ringing. You're not going to get everything right. I sure didn't. If all you want to do is cover your ass, you shouldn't sign up for CEO. So let's talk about the main takeaways. There are three main takeaways, three main areas where I really find interesting that I think you will enjoy reading this book. One is you get insight into Jeff's hardest moments, toughest times during CEO and during his leadership at GE. He went through 9/11. 9/11 was his second day on the job as CEO. And not only was it a tough day for every American, but GE was building engines for planes, and all the planes got grounded, and that was a tough time for their business, and it involved a lot of chaotic moments. Think about that being your second day on the job. B is there was an Enron scandal. Enron is a very similar company to GE. And they were scrutinized for, I believe, like fudging their numbers. And Enron mentioned that GE is a similar company, similar way that they operate. So Enron sort of hinted that GE was very similar in their business model and how they operated, and that caused a lot of scrutiny on GE. The next is Jeff Immelt worked through one of the biggest, I think at the time it was the biggest GE recall in history for the refrigerators. That involved very uncomfortable conversations with the Al Gore, because these refrigerators had issues with, I think, global warming. I think something was going on with them where they were emitting, I think carbon, I don't know what the hell it was. They were emitting something into the air, and it was not good for global warming. So it was a disaster, and it was the biggest recall in GE history. The next these are four things. The next biggest thing was the 2008 recession, and at the time, GE had a lot of their business model was finance. I didn't know that GE was things that made equipment and things like that, but they had a big portion of their business was financing. And so when the 2008 recession hit, it was a big deal, and they had to figure out ways of working around this. So those are four big challenges that Jeff dealt with as his time working at GE, and you get insight into the decision making and the franticness of how everyone had to work through these huge obstacles. My second takeaway is you get insight into Jeff Immelt's principles as a leader. He had three overarching principles that guided his decisions at GE. One was he wanted GE to become more technical. GE had a large stake within the finance industry, and Jeff wanted to take them out of their dependency on finance and move into more technical areas where they're building equipment and building things that are valuable. Next is he wanted the company to be more global, and not global in the sense that taking away American jobs, but global in the sense that if we're doing business in China, he wanted more of their people in China so they can stay closer to their customers. 3 is he wanted to build a more diverse workforce. And he talks about how he puts these 3 principles into practice. And the next takeaway is you will be a fly. You will be a fly on the wall when it comes to seeing how executives and a CEO and the board members of a company operate through succession plans. And maybe other companies have a more smoother transition or succession plans, but a succession plan is when a CEO leaves the company and a new CEO takes over. And you'll see 2 succession plans. One is when Jeff takes over from his predecessor, and that predecessor is Jack Welch. And then you'll see the process of how, when Jeff leaves as CEO, his new CEO takes over. So it is a chaotic and suspenseful process for people who are working through succession plans. And so you'll be like a fly on the wall as you see how this happens with the board members and the executives. A lot of politics being played, and even activist investors. A lot of politics being played. Okay, so how has this book helped me? So, for one, it has shown me that as a leader, and you don't just have to be a CEO to be a leader. You can be just a leader within your family, but you can be a leader within your own company. If you own your own company, you can be a leader within a company if you're just a manager. But as a leader, you have to understand that not every decision is going to be perfect. You're not going to be making 1000% perfect decisions all the time, and you're not always going to have the best information. Oftentimes, we're going to have to work through tough situations with limited information, and we need to make decisions and we need to be confident, and we need to move forward. And if we are too hesitant because we're nervous, we don't have enough data, it's not going to help us be good leaders. And for me, it just gives me the reassurance that, making decisions with limited information is something that most people deal with. Even CEOs of a large company like GE, where they have tons of resources to tap into, even them, they still have oftentimes limited data that they have to work through. Also, as a leader, it taught me that to be a leader, you need to develop your workforce, mentor your team, so eventually they can take over your position. So mentoring is very important, developing your workforce. 2 is to properly motivate your workforce. You need to empower them to make the decisions themselves. If every decision is top down, it's demotivating and no one wants to work for you. 3 is you need to stand up for your values. You're going to have to make tough decisions with limited data and a lot of uncertainty, and you need to be humble and willing to listen to feedback. You're working through uncertain times, and so be willing to hear feedback, be willing to make tough decisions in uncertain times, and stand up for yourself and stand up for the values that drive your decisions. Stand up for yourself and your principles and your values. And those are the takeaways that I have for how this book has helped me. It helped me just understand how a GE leader, GE CEO, a person that I will likely never meet in my life, how they operate, and gives me some good tools and good mental models for how to think as a leader. Lastly, where you can buy a copy of this book, go to the link in this description. Go to the link in the description of this video, and you will find a link to Amazon. That'll bring you right to this book. And you have various purchasing options. As I mentioned earlier, you can do a Kindle, a paper, hardcover, or an audiobook. Get a copy of the book. If you have read it already and you have other takeaways, please comment in and give some feedback as well. We all would love to hear it. And that's the end of this book review. Hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your day.